is a good friend of mine, their band director. So we're very happy to have gotten some of their students out of that and continue their education. And Alex is one of them. Alex is a computer science major who also specialized in music at his time at Notre Dame and also specializes in music here. So in the fall, he came up to me and he was like, I wrote a piece for Notre Dame in 3 movements. And I went, I want to hear it. And upon hearing it, we decided to do it. I'm going to let him introduce the piece. And I'm going to join the percussion section.
Tessie. Respice, Stellam, Voca, Mariam is a piece that holds near and dear to my heart. In early 2024, I learned of the unfortunate circumstance that my previous college, Notre Dame, was closing at the end of the spring semester. Over that summer, I decided that since my original major pertained to music composition, I would write a piece dedicated to the faculty and students at Notre Dame. The name Respice, Stellam, Voca, Mariam comes from the seal of Notre Dame College, which means, look to the stars, call upon Mary in Latin. There are 3 movements that signify every year that I had the pleasure of attending Notre Dame. The first movement, entitled The Road to South Euclid March, is an upbeat march-style movement named after the city that Notre Dame is located. I decided to write a march because one of the first things I did at Notre Dame was participate in their marching band led by director Michael Kruger. The second movement, entitled A Hymn for the Blue and Gold, is more of a lyrical movement and is named after the college's colors, royal blue and gold. The movement took inspiration from a piece that I did here at last year's Upsika, representing Notre Dame, entitled Pacem by Robert Spital, which is also another lyrical piece. I also took inspiration from Frank Ticheli's An American Elegy, which I performed as part of the Notre Dame Wind Ensemble. The third and final movement, entitled The Final Huzzah, is a medieval-style movement that is named after the party that Mike Kruger held for all the band students at Notre Dame after it officially shut down. Since the word huzzah is typically associated with medieval times, that is why I chose that style. As the composer of this piece, I also have the pleasure of conducting it. I hope you enjoy this piece as much as I do.
take just a 10-minute intermission. Feel free to stand up, stretch your legs, maybe get outside.